The chances are you've never bought a squash book, maybe never even seen one, let alone read one. Nowadays it's all videos, web pages, maybe even ebooks. Back in 20 or 30 years ago, squash books weren't particularly popular then. Maybe in the early mid-1970s, when squash was hugely popular in the United Kingdom and in Europe, maybe more people read those books. But for some people, squash is just too spontaneous, too dynamic, too impassioned to translate well into a 2D medium like paper. And that's a shame, because these books contain a huge amount of wisdom and insight and some incredible stories. And I fear that those things will be lost to the newer generations of players and fans. Which brings me to the reason for this series. I'm going to be talking about squash books. Now, I want to be very clear about something from the beginning. Firstly, I'm not going to be reviewing them in the critical sense like new books and movies are reviewed. That's not my intention. The second thing is, it's not my intention to simply find something that's out of date, laugh at it, make a funny comment, and then move on to the next thing. I'm not trying to make jokes at the author's expense, at the author's hard work, at the expense of the author's hard work, sorry. I'm not trying to do that. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, it's not my intention to stop you from buying and reading these books. On the contrary, I hope that watching one of my videos will inspire you to go out and find and buy and read the particular books. I want to share that information. So that's my intention. My intention is to hopefully convince you to buy those books and to share the wisdom. But let's be honest. 99.99% of people watching this video won't go out and buy the books. And that's fine. I'm not here to try and guilt you into buying squash books. But as I've said, that's a shame, because that knowledge, that wisdom, those stories might be lost to the newer generation. Now, I envisage each book's video starting with me talking about the book itself, the author, of course, its objective when it was published, but also talking about where I bought it and how much I paid for it, because I think that you might be quite surprised at the price of many of these books, and online, how easy they are to buy. Now, we will see many things that are out of date, and that's okay, because everything is a product of its time. In 20 or 30 years' time, if anybody's watching this video, they will say, my God, why did he make the video like that? That's just crazy, that's out of date. And that's the way things are. Now, that is true especially of the coaching manuals, and the types of books that we will be looking at will be lots of coaching manuals, but there'll be autobiographies, there will be stories about matches and the history of squash and all sorts of things. So there is a variety of things. But with particular coaching manuals, we will see many things that really are out of date. When these books were written, there was a very rigid, prescriptive way of teaching and expecting people to use technique. And of course, with racket technology changing so much in the last 30 years, that has become less important. So that's one of the things that we'll see. After I've gone through the basic idea of who wrote the book and what it's for, I'll be flipping through the book and showing you different things that I highlighted that I think will be of interest to you, but also might be useful for you, because we can still learn a lot from these books. Then at the end, I'll talk about like the final thoughts, whether I really enjoyed this, whether it was hard work for me, those kind of things. And I'll probably tease you with the next book in the series. I don't have any fixed schedule for posting the videos, but I'm really going to try to aim for once a month. My initial idea was perhaps to post the books in chronological publication order, but I thought that for both you and for me, it would be more interesting if I just took a random selection, plus the fact that the very first squash book is way out of my price range. It's like hundreds of pounds or euros. So I couldn't start with that, and I'm the kind of person who is, if I can't start with the first one, then I wanted to do it in a random order. I'd like to thank Andrew Shelley's Squash Library for providing a list of all the squash books available. Unfortunately, it's a static PDF, which means you can't sort it, but it is still an incredible resource, as is the whole website. So if you want to go and check that out, the link is in the text description and you can see all of the books. Maybe you can even start searching for them and buying them for yourself. As with all of the new series in 2020, at the same time as posting this intro, I've also posted the very first book video, and that is for this, the Book of Jonah. Now, I read this really quickly, I loved it, and it has a strong personal significance for me because I was lucky enough to work a little bit with Jonah, and in fact I know a lot of the people in the book, so there was a personal significance for me. So if you want to get straight into that, watching that, you can do so here. If you can't see this link, then the link is in the text description. As always, if you have any questions about this video, this series, squash in general, my videos, don't hesitate to post a comment and I'll do my best to reply as quickly as possible. That's all I wanted to say, so here's the outro. Thanks for watching, hopefully it was of interest. Please consider subscribing if you think my content is worth it. This is a video that YouTube thinks is a really good fit for you based on what you've been watching recently, and this is a playlist of all of the other book videos. Remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya!